In this fourth problem, again, for all these guys, you have to be able to recognize what you have. It's not a radical. You don't have fractions. You have a polynomial. You don't have any weird stuff going on here. Since this is a polynomial equation, we look at the degree to determine how many solutions. We expect 2 solutions here. This is quadratic, so we think about those quadratic methods we have at our disposal. Should I use the square root property? Well, the answer is no, because I have 2 instances of x. That's not a good thing to use. I would then try to factor this. But if I try to do that AC method, 3 times 1 is 3, and I can't find factors of 3 that subtract to 7, so this guy does not factor. I will tell you that you can complete the square. It just won't be fun. In order to complete the square, it's best if this lead coefficient is 1. It's not yet, but I could divide everything by 3. But if I divide everything by 3, I end up with fractions, and fractions are just gross. So let's try to avoid creating fractions, so let's not do completing the square. Which means there's only one method that we can use, and that's going to be the quadratic formula. A lot of students try to do this as their number one option. That's a bad idea. This is going to be when none of the other guys work out nicely. In order to use the quadratic formula, you need to identify your A, B, and C. A is 3. B is the coefficient of x, which is 7. C is your constant term, which is -1. Pay attention to the signs. If you're going to use the quadratic formula, you need to write the quadratic formula every time you use it. So, x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to assume you all said all over 2a. Good. Now you plug in. You have x. X is equal to -b, so since b is 7, -7 is just -7. Plus or minus my square root, b squared. I'm going to square the b, so that's going to give me 49. Now the minus 4ac is where we run into a lot of problems. So I'm going to take the minus 4ac, I'm going to take that whole guy off to the side. That's -4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is -1. This is a product. Multiply everything together. -4 times 3 is -12, and -12 times -1 is a positive 12. Now remember, this is all over 2a. Don't just put the radical in the numerator, but all of this is over 2a. A is 3, so 2 times a makes that 6. And then all we need to do here is to just clean up a little bit. So x equals -7, plus or minus the square root. 49 plus 12 is 61. And again, this is all over 6. When you have a problem like this, make sure that when you look at the square root, you try to reduce this guy if possible. However, 61 is a prime number. You cannot break that down anymore. That's as far as you can go, and this would be the end of your problem. Even if you try to separate this, one with a plus and one with a minus, that doesn't do you any good. -7 plus that square root cannot be combined at all, so leaving it here in this form of plus or minus is totally fine.